On a warm summer's day in 1987, a Truman man fishing on the St. Francis River reeled in a mystery that remains to this day.
Some you solved within hours, and some you solved within weeks or months, and some you never did.
On June 13, 1987, Kenny Whitaker of Truman went fishing at the floodway. His line struck what he thought was a log, but when he reeled it in, he made a horrifying discovery. He had hooked the body of a young woman, a bra tied around her neck.
Police say a piece of clothing tied about the victim's neck and no other apparent weapon marks indicate strangulation is the cause of death, but they'll know more after the autopsy is performed.
Within days, the sheriff's office had received the autopsy results. Their Jane Doe had died of ligature strangulation, the victim of a homicide.
The simple fact that the way she was found, thrown away like of no value, just put in a ditch. This wasn't an accident. She was killed on purpose.
It took 2 weeks before investigators using her fingerprints identified their Jane Doe as Stella Patterson of Illinois. She was just 20 years old when she was murdered. According to the sheriff's office, Patterson had lived in Poinsett County for about 5 months. K8 News reporter Kate Shannon, now Boyle, covered the case. Boyle covered several murders during her tenure, but this one stood out from the rest.
I was scarcely older than this young woman, so I had just turned 23. This one was, particularly salacious because of what had gone on, and she was so very young, and it made it particularly stunning, I think.
She remembers speaking to Patterson's family.
They said, well, we hadn't heard from her in years. We hadn't seen her in years. And I thought, seen her in years, 20 years old. But I do remember there just was very little interest in them pursuing anything. And there certainly wasn't, as I recall anyway, there didn't seem to be a great deal of emotion surrounding this young woman's death.
Investigators said before her murder, Patterson traveled the countryside, hitching rides with truck drivers, leading detectives to wonder if her killer was from out of town. But upon further investigation...
No, I believe it's somebody local. I'm not going to say who it is because right now I don't want to say. But there is somebody that needs to be that's going to be revisited.
Somebody who may still live in Poinsett County today. Lieutenant Brad Felkins and Captain Ryan Price were just kids when Stella Patterson was murdered.
I was a junior in high school in 1987.
I was born in April of 87, so I was just a few months old when this case happened.
But they were just as committed to finding her killer as their predecessors were.
We put the picture up of her. Each car had a picture of her. Had a picture of her in the office at the jail. If a person didn't know that, want to know who that is, and you'd say, hey, that's Stella Patterson. Did you know her? Did you have any information, or why did you ask? So it was always on everybody's mind.
While it's been 36 years since Patterson's body was pulled from the muddy waters of the St. Francis River,
there's people who know what happened. There's absolutely no way that after 36 years, people don't know what happened.
Back when Stella Patterson was killed, investigators did not have the tools they have today. Using DNA samples collected from the crime scene, Detective Felkin said they have now found a few interesting things.
It involves biological evidence that testing DNA that wasn't available back in '87.
Despite her murder happening 3 decades ago, Felkins and Price are confident they will get new leads.
I would hope that if somebody out there knows some factual information about this case that would help solve it, would call us. Because we can't solve crimes without the citizens' help, 100%. I mean, we just can't. We need their help.
There's somebody out there that knows this whole story from the mouth of the killer, and we need that person to contact us.
Unfortunately, some evidence is simply lost to time.
We couldn't go reset up that crime scene because there's a highway there now.
While it may be a cold case, the murder of Stella Patterson is not a closed case.
This is not something you forget about. And you felt it. It was real. This isn't just another crime. It's not just another body. That people do go home and think about these things at night.
While he is no longer on the force, former Sheriff Carter would like to be there when the murderer is finally taken into custody.
I'd just like to be on the outskirts looking in. Yeah, I'd like to say, got you, sucker.